Alright guys, today is going to be a little bit different video. As you can see, got a little bit of a leak from my washing machine. Yes, I'm a mobile mechanic. That doesn't mean that we can't fix other stuff here. So we're going to go ahead and figure out what the cause of the leak is. Stay tuned. Also want to take a moment to mention that this is going to be the first video I'm recording with my new Rode Video Micro microphone. Good old Santa Claus brought this for me, but I had to figure out the right cord setup, as you can see here, to get it to work with my phone. And so finally, we've got some better audio here for you, a little upgrade for the channel. So I hope you guys appreciate it, and I hope you guys can hear me a little bit better. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is obviously go ahead and unplug the washing machine. Then we're going to come back here and we're going to disconnect and turn off the hot and cold water lines going to it. That way we can just have everything disconnected. We can have an easier time working on it. I'm just going to go ahead and probably disconnect them from the washing machine side. May need a pair of pliers to get those off, so I'm going to do that now. Well, I was able to get the hot water line shut off and disconnect from the washing machine by operating the valve as it's intended to be used. However, here's the shut-off valve for the cold water, and unfortunately that particular line is leaking when I try to close it. So this is also going to be a tutorial on how to replace a water shut-off valve, because I'm going to have to do that as well. I'm going to end up having to shut off the water to the entire house in order to remove this. Otherwise, I'm just going to have water gushing out everywhere. So stay tuned for that fun. Alright, so I got the new water shut-off valve installed here. I just shut off the water to the whole house, and it's literally as simple as having the water shut off and taking a wrench and loosening it out of the pipe, being careful not to break anything, and then you take your new one and you do the same thing. You put some thread tape on it before you put it in, and you just tighten it on down with a wrench. Very simple replacement here, and luckily I was able to find a direct replacement, so I didn't have to rig anything up. It was going in pretty far, so I didn't get it quite straight because I really didn't want to over tighten it and break this pipe and then have an even bigger issue on my hands. But I think with the angle of this little yellow attachment piece with the hose the way it is on there, I think that'll be just fine. Alright guys, so here we are a couple days later. Sorry I didn't film. I will film putting it back together, but this is essentially what the washing machine looks like when it's all taken apart. There's of course the back of it. This is where our hoses go into the washing machine, and of course you have your electrical connector that plugs it into the wall here, and that's there are a couple of slots here. There's one, and there's one that's identical to it on the other side. And then you have a couple of those. This is just on my specific washing machine. This is not a how-to on this specific model. This is more just some general information. But basically the first thing that you want to do is pull these plastic pieces off the side here. There's one on each side. It's basically the trim around the washing machine. Once you do that, here's kind of what those look like too. I'll show you those. It's just these pieces right here, and they kind of sit on there like that, and so you can come at the top even just with your fingers and kind of pull them out like that and then work it out the bottom. Once you get both of those two off, you can pretty much grab this and pull it back. And then those two plastic things I showed you, there's a couple screws in them, and you take those screws out next. Alright, and then once you got those screws out, I believe that I had to take a couple screws out of the bottom. There was one on each side. And I believe that they go through that very bottom hole right there. Sorry, I don't have my light on, guys. Let me turn this on for you. I guess my phone battery's too low, but there's a hole there. Come on now, focus. There's a hole at the bottom there, and it will, there will be a couple screws there. And then, as I mentioned, there are a couple of holes, or slots rather, on each side. So once you get those screws out, you can basically lift up the entire panel, and it should come off of the slots. I'm not exactly sure where those slots even are on here. That's interesting, because I know there was a little metal piece that those slid into when I took it off, but I'm not seeing those on the actual washer unit. Okay, I'm tripping. This is it right here. It's these things. So these little tabs, yeah, there we go. They got flipped up somehow. So you get those tabs just like that. That's where those tabs are going to sit. And once again, guys, I do apologize that I don't have a light at the moment where you guys can see this a little better. But essentially, once you get the back lifted off, you're of course going to have some electrical connectors to unplug. There's 1, 2, and then there's a third one there. And then I did disconnect the other end of this hose. And I don't know if it's some kind of, it's right here. I don't know if it's some kind of vacuum hose or something, but it connects to this switch here. And that is the medium load, large load. So, okay, I guess it must be some kind of valve that dictates the level of the fluid. And once it gets to a certain point, it will probably cause it to shut off. So anyway, once we got the back off and we got all of the electrical connectors disconnected, you can essentially just lift this entire piece up off of the frame, and then you're left with this. So now that we are at this point, I've already had this washer off a long time ago. Believe it or not, this is actually a water pump. And this is why I'm posting this video on my channel, because it's actually not too much different from an automotive cooling system. The point of this video is if you can repair your vehicle, if you're a mechanic, you can definitely repair your washing machine. There's an electric motor in here that's of course going to spin this in a circle, but it also pumps the water, this water pump. And there are 2 hoses, one's going in and one's going out. I do believe that this pump is strictly to drain the fluid out. I had to replace this before because the piece in here that the shaft acts upon, the metal shaft from the motor, got rounded out because it's made of plastic, and I got a baby sock stuck in here when my kids were much younger. So anyway, this top hose that's still connected is the entrance hose, or the in hose, where it's going to attempt to drain from the tub here. Then we have the drain hose, which routes back this way and out the back through this square here. And then another hose is going to come up, and just the way my house is set up, they're routed into that little tube there. I have no idea why my camera will not focus in that area, but anyway, the drain for the washer is just this tube here at my house. Kind of seems a little, I don't know if rigged is the right word, but that's just the way it's been the whole time I've lived here, and it works fine. It pumps it right into the drain. So anyway, over here we've got the hose itself. This part here just kind of hooks into that drain that I just showed you on the wall. And then this piece here clamps it to the actual back of the washer. And then we come forward here and you can see where my issue was. I went ahead and applied a thin layer of super glue over that. And I'm also going to take this, they're called Rapid Repair. This stuff's what I'm going to try to use, self-fusing silicone tape. I really don't want to buy a new hose for this because I've been without a washing machine for a few days now and the clothes are starting to add up. It's kind of weird. This stuff isn't even sticky, but it says if you stretch it and wrap it around real good that it creates a very tight waterproof seal. And this was just a tiny pinhole, and it's only on the drain hose, so it shouldn't actually affect the the clothes getting washed. I'm just tired of having water dripping all over the floor, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we should be prepared to put it back together, which, like I said, I will film that for you guys. Alright, so I went ahead and got it all wrapped up with a few layers of the self-fusing silicone tape. So now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the hose. Alright, so I got you guys kind of zoomed in down here at what I'm working with. I think the reason that this hose got a hole in it to begin with is because the hose was wrapped around the edge of this metal frame here. And I don't think it's going to cause any issue if instead of routing this on the outside, if I just go ahead and go on the inside here. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I don't think that's going to be an issue. So we're going to slide our hose on just like that. And then we're going to get our pliers and squeeze on the clamp. These clamps are actually no joke. They're pretty stiff. You definitely can't use these with your hands. Unfortunately, you do need pliers on these. I'll actually keep that kind of pointed down so it doesn't get in the way of the body as I put it back on. So now that we got that in there and the hose is kind of in here, I don't think it should have any issues. Not 100% though, but yeah, I don't believe that this unit moves. I think it's just the inside that does. Or no, I think maybe it moves just back and forth. Something like that, but I don't think that, yeah, I don't think that hose being right there is going to be an issue. If anything, maybe I'll just put something else right here as well to keep it away. Or maybe I should bring it back out and put something there on the outside. I just don't want this issue to happen again. I may do it that way instead, actually. Let's do that. This here is live and uncut. Yeah, we're going to go around the outside again, I think, because I'm pretty sure that that's how it was. And then that's probably what the issue is. That's where this goes. I've been wondering where this little plastic piece is supposed to go. And I bet it's right here in this hole. And that's probably what happened is last time when I did this, I screwed it up. And I didn't put that little clip back in to keep it secure. And that's just the little plastic that came around the tape. I figured I'd wrap that on there too, just for the hell of it. So actually, we're good to go. We don't actually need to put anything to separate the hose because that's exactly what this clamp is for. So that does confirm that the hose was supposed to go on the outside, and it just mounts there in that little frame. So the next step is we're going to want to get the the body of the washing machine basically put back onto the top here. So let me actually zoom you out a little bit. We'll turn you up. Sorry if there was any mic noise there. I got the mic just chilling down in front of my phone there. Okay, so now you can kind of see what I'm doing with this. I'm going to go ahead and move this hose back over there. Of course, this damn thing popped out immediately. Come on now. Just stay where you're supposed to go. Maybe that is all it does, is it just clips in like that. You know what? It actually, I think it's broken on the top. The little top clip is broke. That's the issue. Huh. Alright, so after screwing with that for a minute, it doesn't seem like it's going to want to clip in there. I think it's kind of broke, so I'm just going to leave it on there, lined up the best that I can. That bottom hook is in there, so it shouldn't be rubbing against it at least. So we're going to go ahead and put this body on. I've got that hose over there. And the back of the washing machine is totally opened up because the back is over there. So we should be able to just kind of pick this bad boy up and just walk it right on over. Careful not to smash your fingers. And then you can just make sure you get it all lined up again. And I believe that the bottom of the washer here, I believe there's some kind of tabs or something. Let me get you lined up a little better. I believe there's some kind of tabs at the bottom and the front, or hooks or something like that. And once you get those into place, this should be on there properly. You just gotta kind of walk it, you gotta line it up a little. You know what? That's probably part of it too. Let me move this out of the way. Just scoot it back over. Lean that right there. will say I think this is a lot easier to take off than it was to put back on. We'll get her. Can't really tell if that's fully on there or not. Yeah, I think so, because whenever I push up, it stays on there. I guess the final check would be to see if those screw holes line up on the back. Then again, I don't know if this part was even screwed down or not. No, it just lines up. All right. So now, I'm going to pull you off the tripod here. One moment. And you can kind of see here, we'll give it a walk around. It's all lined up here. Looks like a washing machine again for the most part. Everything seems to be kind of lined up here. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's kind of supposed to be like that. But I don't know. We're pretty much on there though, for sure. And then I just kind of pushed these over to line it up with the frame. And then I think once the back goes on, it should definitely line everything up and make it square. Alright guys, so now that we got the body on there, I just want to go over a couple other things real quick. I mean, we're pretty much ready to put the back on. It's pretty much as simple as lining it up at the bottom, lining it up at the top, and making sure that these little tabs, these little metal pieces here, go into those slots. Now your washing machine may be completely different, of course, but this is just a general overview of what one could do to potentially fix a leak on their washing machine. This right here, this nozzle is where the hose here goes, and everything else you just match up the electrical connectors. I don't believe that there's a way to mix them up on here. They all go the same way. And then there is 4 screws. There's going to be 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and the back should be put back on. I do believe that I've got this lined up properly, even though this doesn't look like it's lined up. That is actually where the bleach goes in, and it has this this little attachment here, and through that small hole it funnels it down to the side. So that is the correct orientation of that. If you look at it from the front, you don't really hardly notice that it's not a washing machine. So part of the point of this video is that it looks a lot more daunting than it actually is. Yes, of course it was a pain in the ass to get that thing lined back up, don't get me wrong. But it's not like the body comes apart in 3 or 4 different pieces and you got 20 different screws to remember where they go back. I mean, literally, it was super easy to take this apart and repair it. So we're going to go ahead and move on and get this back cover reinstalled. Alright, so we got everything hooked up here. We got this connector plugged in, hose plugged in, hose routed through that clip, and the slack's taken out of it. We got that connector plugged in, the big main connector plugged in, that connector plugged in. So now I've got to line it up with these tabs and get them to go through those slots. And We also got the drain hose deal here reattached into the back of the unit. And so now that's where that screw hole is. I just got to line it up with the actual hole and we'll be good to go. Also, I forgot to mention, mine has a small ground strap right there. So I went ahead and reconnected that. Definitely don't forget that. Alright, so we got her mostly back installed. Excellent discoveries. First thing, these tabs here that go through. Instead of trying to push this piece in and get the tab over it, oh no, you'll never get it like that. You put the tab through the back piece first, then you line that up, and where that rectangular hole is, where it curves from one hole to the other, you want to push down real hard with your thumb on that and it'll snap into place. So I got that one in, and I came over to this one, and I was having a hell of a time getting my hand in there because of this thing. So I discovered that if you pull that knob off the front there, you can literally just twist it. See those little arrows there? You can twist this bad boy just like a car headlight. So I'm just trying to point out how many similarities there are here. Lots of the same technology is used in multiple different devices. So we've got everything hooked back up here. I got to put my screws back in, and I'll twist this bad boy back in. We'll move to the next step. Alright guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I made a bit of a mistake, but that's alright. Had to backtrack a couple steps. I don't know if you can see in there. There's a little tab sticking up. And that little tab, let me try to point at it. Wow. It's right in there. Anyway, there's a hole in the bottom of the body on both sides, and the tab needs to go up inside of it. And I had the body under it, so I kind of had to take it all back apart and realign that. But once I did, everything is good to go now, it seems like. Sorry, I had you zoomed in there still. But we got her all back together. I did end up using a different screw here because I think I mixed up that screw and the ground screw. But everything is screwed back in. Everything is lined up and square. It's all put back together now. You can go ahead and slide this back in. And another thing that I could tell immediately that there was a difference is there's supposed to be a gap here, and there really wasn't. So I'm glad I didn't put it back together like that, because this might have started rubbing. But now at this point, we can go ahead and reconnect the hoses and put the drain hose back where it goes over there, and we'll do a test run. One thing I want to mention is there's a couple of thimble screens inside of these hose attachments on the washing machine side, and a lot of sediment tends to build up in there. So it's not a good or not a bad idea, rather, to go ahead and clean those out while you're in here. Alright, so the hot and cold water are working. I've gone ahead and tested each one of those. Hot works by itself, cold works by itself, and the warm function where it uses both is also working. There does not appear to be any drips or any leaks from the lines. We got our drain tube all reconnected back in there. You can even kind of see that hot steam coming out. That's a good sign. So the next thing we want to do is go ahead and turn it to the drain. Hold on, I think it starts draining. I think it drains at the beginning of the spin cycle. Let me take a look here. Alright, I realized why it wasn't working. It wasn't my fault this time. I forgot about the safety switch here that makes it not spin if the door is open. So we got some water in there. We are on the spin cycle. I'll push that down. We can see that the motor is spinning and it does work. And I can hear that fluid is draining out. Let me shut this door. And we can see, oh yeah, draining right out of there. And that is flowing through the hose that we repaired. So that should do the trick. So now I'm gonna let all of that crap drain out of there, give it a good rinse out. So I'm sure I got it a little dirty in there while I was working on it. And we're pretty much all finished up. Alright guys, that's going to be the end of the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed. It was a little different kind of video, but I thought you guys would enjoy it. A little entertainment for you at least. If you're a professional appliance repair person, go ahead and leave down in the comments below how much you laughed at me while you were watching this video. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.